Genesis 3 is a pivotal chapter in the book of Genesis, recounting the tragic event known as the fall of man. Here is a detailed summary of Genesis 3. The chapter begins with the introduction of the cunning serpent, who approaches Eve, the first woman, and engages her in conversation. The serpent questions God's command not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, planting doubt in Eve's mind. He deceitfully suggests that if she eats from the forbidden tree, she will become like God, knowing both good and evil. Eve, enticed by the serpent's words, looks at the tree and sees that its fruit is desirable and would make one wise. Disregarding God's command, she takes the fruit and eats it. She then offers it to Adam, who willingly partakes as well. As a consequence of their disobedience, their eyes are opened and they realize they are naked. Feeling shame and guilt, they sew fig leaves together to make coverings for themselves. Later, they hear the sound of God walking in the garden and hide from his presence. God calls out to them, asking where they are. Adam admits that he hid because he was naked and afraid. God questions Adam about eating from the forbidden tree, and Adam shifts blame to Eve, saying she gave him the fruit. Eve, in turn, blames the serpent for deceiving her. God addresses the serpent, cursing it above all livestock and declaring enmity between the serpent and humanity. He foretells that the offspring of the woman will bruise the serpent's head, while the serpent will bruise the heel of the woman's offspring, foreshadowing the ultimate victory of the Savior over evil. God then pronounces specific consequences for Adam and Eve's disobedience. To Eve, he says that childbirth will be accompanied by pain, and her desire will be for her husband, yet he will rule over her. To Adam, God declares that the ground will be cursed, and he will toil and struggle to cultivate it, with thorns and thistles hindering his efforts. Eventually, Adam will return to the dust from which he was formed. Despite the judgment, God provides garments of animal skin to clothe Adam and Eve, demonstrating his provision and care for them even in their fallen state. He expels them from the Garden of Eden, placing cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life, preventing them from eating and living forever in their fallen state. Genesis 3 serves as a sobering account of the introduction of sin, disobedience, and the consequences it brings. It also contains the first promise of redemption through the seed of the woman, ultimately fulfilled in Jesus Christ, who would triumph over sin and restore humanity's relationship with God. Genesis 4 delves into the story of Cain and Abel, the two sons of Adam and Eve, and the consequences of their actions. Here is a detailed summary of Genesis 4. After being expelled from the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve have two sons, Cain and Abel. Cain becomes a farmer, while Abel becomes a shepherd. Both Cain and Abel bring offerings to God as an act of worship. Abel offers the best of his flock, showing genuine devotion and faith. God accepts Abel's offering, but he does not accept Cain's offering of the fruits of the ground. This rejection angers Cain, and his face falls in disappointment and jealousy. God confronts Cain, asking why he is angry and telling him that if he does what is right, he will be accepted. God warns Cain that sin is crouching at the door, seeking to dominate him, but Cain must learn to master it. Despite God's warning, Cain invites Abel to go out into the field with him. In a fit of rage, Cain attacks his brother and kills him. As a result, the blood of Abel cries out to God from the ground. God approaches Cain, questioning him about Abel's whereabouts. Cain denies any knowledge and responds with a famous question, "Am I my brother's keeper?" God pronounces a curse upon Cain, declaring that the ground he tills will no longer yield its full produce for him. Cain becomes a wanderer on the earth, marked with a sign of protection so that no one would kill him. Cain, burdened by his guilt and fear, expresses concern that whoever finds him will seek vengeance. God promises that anyone who harms Cain will face sevenfold vengeance. God places a mark on Cain to protect him, ensuring that he will not be harmed. The chapter concludes by mentioning Cain's descendants and the birth of his son Enoch. Additionally, it highlights the beginning of human civilization, with people developing various skills and pursuits, including music and metalworking. Genesis 4 depicts the tragic consequences of unchecked jealousy, anger, and disobedience. It highlights the importance of sincere worship and the need to control destructive emotions. The story of Cain and Abel also emphasizes God's justice and mercy in dealing with the consequences of sin, showing that even in the midst of judgment, God extends protection and grace. Thanks for listening.